Wonderful. And really, we are almost at the top of the hour. So I think it is time to go ahead and welcome everyone. We are so grateful that you all are joining us tonight. My name is Kat Fribley, and I'm the executive director here at Birdability. My pronouns are she, her, and I am delighted to have had the opportunity to work over the last, well, really now a year and a half or more with Jerry Berrier, Martha Steele, and Donna Poissant. And now we've been joined by some Canadian friends on the Blind Birder Bird-a-Thon. And I am excited to have you join us for this very first community conversation, which came out of our time together. It was really clear to me that as the Blind Birder Bird-a-Thon gathered a community of people, that they were clear about their desire to stay in contact virtually and to continue learning together and being in community together. And so the planning committee came up with this idea for a series of community conversations that will help us prepare for and be in community as we get closer to the second annual and now global Blind Birder Bird-a-Thon that will be happening May 3rd and 4th of 2026. We're so glad to be able to use these winter months and the early spring to keep learning together, to keep thinking about birds and talking about birds in preparation for our 2026 event. I am really so always delighted to be in space with Jerry Berrier. And Jerry has been a birdability captain and part of our community for many years now, and was the link between the person who thought up the Blind Birder Bird-a-Thon, Martha, and then us at Birdability. We have enjoyed so much the opportunity to work together, Jerry and I, over any number of different kinds of events and conversations. And I would love to ask you, Jerry. So I'm going to put you on the hot seat if I could for just a minute, because you all were the ones who said, Kat, you should tell people that they can donate to Birdability. And I want to tell people you can donate to Birdability. And as a matter of fact, right now, as we roll up to Giving Tuesday, which happens in 2 weeks, all of the donations will be matched by a generous pool of donors. But Jerry, I'm curious if you would be willing to tell people why you think they should donate to Birdability.
I certainly would be delighted to do that. Birdability, I've been involved in it since it started a few years ago. Birdability's main thrust is to promote birding for people of all abilities. And they do lots of things that I probably don't even know about. But one of the things that is near and dear to my heart is the assistance we've gotten from CAT and from Birdability with our Blind Birder Bird-a-Thon last year and the one that's coming up. We're on Birdability's website right now, as a matter of fact, and they've really been CAT has been instrumental in helping us in so many ways, getting publicity out for various things and just lots of things. So I am a believer in birdability. I'm really dedicated to it, and I hope other people will too. And they need money to operate, and there's no better time than now to give because they do have this matching fund program. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry, for that. I so appreciate it. And I want to acknowledge there are so many ways to give, both financially, but also with time, with energy, with commitment to access and inclusion. And we're grateful for all of those different ways. And Jerry, I know you have been a part of all those different ways and then some over time. And with that, I want to make sure that we have lots of time to hear about and talk about bird identification by sound and mnemonics. And so I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce yourself. I will tell one story about you if I could,
Sure.
which is that Jerry and I had the opportunity to be together in Colorado in May of this year. And Jerry was there as part of a cohort of teachers, really, for folks, students who and young folks who are interns at national parks who were doing all kinds of great programming that was specific to working with folks with disabilities, including folks who are blind or low vision. And so one of my absolute favorite moments was watching you, Jerry, without you knowing probably that I was watching you, birding with a literal like gaggle of young folks who were so excited to be hearing from you about what they should be listening for, how they should incorporate birding by ear into their own birding practice, and just seeing you in that space alive with joy, and giving them so much joy as you explained mnemonics and ways of memorizing. And so I just am delighted that you're now able to be here and share that more broadly, with this group and with anybody who watches this later. So, with that, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Kat, and I'm delighted to be here. I really am. I've been looking forward to this. There are people who don't like using mnemonics, but I'm a person who I really love them, and I don't find it easy to remember the bird sounds. There are certain ones that have stuck with me over the years, but especially as I get older, I need all the help I can get to be able to remember them, and I use a lot of mnemonics. Um, Let me just turn my speech off. There we go. So what is a mnemonic? Well, first of all, maybe I should spell it. And somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's Mnemonic, mnemonic. And a mnemonic is simply a device that helps us to remember something. I'll give you an example that's not bird related, and I don't want to open up the discussion of whether we now have 8 planets or 9, but I can give you the mnemonic for both. So one that I read for the to remember the 8 planets is my very educated mother just served us nachos. That would be for 8 planets. If we were doing 9 planets, it would be my very educated mother just served us 9 pizzas. So that's a mnemonic.
Poor
And it's just,
Pluto.
yeah, and it's as simple as that. Um, but I have mnemonics for a lot of birds. Actually, if you do a Google search, you can find lists of mnemonics for birds, some of which I find are really a stretch. Some of them I can't imagine remembering. But the ones that I'm going to talk about tonight are ones that I find very easy to remember, and I find them humorous and just enjoyable. Um, I do want to tell you that if we don't run out of time, I'm going to open it up at some point to ask a few people to raise their hands and tell us what their favorite mnemonics are. I'm especially interested in any mnemonics that you've come up with yourself. One of the birds that I'll be talking about in a little while is the fish crow, and I remember my first wife, who is now deceased, but the first time she heard that, she said, "Uh-uh, uh-uh." And so we called it the bird because it does sound like it's saying that, and you'll hear that as we go along. So I would like to ask Kat to play the first one, and then I'll talk a little bit about it.
You bet. And I'm just now sharing my screen. And let's see here. I'm going to play the first sound right now,
Yeah.
Jerry. It'll take just a second. There we go.
Okay. My children are now in their 40s, and if they were in this meeting and heard that sound, immediately one of them would say, "It's the drink your tea bird," because it sounds to me like it's saying, "Drink your tea." And I do want to point out something you probably already know. which is that birds make a lot of sounds and there are dialects, and certain birds make different sounds than other birds. But these mnemonics are for some of the most common sounds that a bird makes. So the eastern towhee says, drink your tea, seems to say that. I don't think it really thinks about drinking its tea, and it also says its name sometimes. And I'll talk about some birds that do that also as we go along. But there is a call that you sometimes hear with the eastern towhee that just says towhee. And
Mm.
so that's that one. Let's go on
And
to the
Jerry,
next one.
would it
Yep.
be okay, do you think, if we replayed it now that
Oh, sure.
folks know the mnemonic of drink
That's
your
a
tea? I wonder if they'll be able to hear it.
that's a very good idea.
All right, let's play it one more time.
That's pretty clear to me.
Wonderful.
All right,
Uh,
let's try number two now.
you bet.
So this is one that I find I have to use my imagination just a little bit with it. But the common mnemonic for this bird, and by the way, it's the eastern bluebird, the common mnemonic for it is cheer, chirple, charmer. And, if you kind of use your imagination, it sort of says that. So let's hear that one again.
Yeah, let's. Also, I love that we could hear a conchlery in the background.
Yeah, right. And I should give attribution to Lang Elliott, one of the foremost nature recordists in the world, who I'm using some of his sounds with his permission. He has given me the ability to use his sounds, and I always try to give attribution to him when I do. Okay, the next one then is a common bird in this part of the country. I'm located, by the way, in Massachusetts. I should probably tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a blind birder, so I do all my birding by ear. I've never been able to see, so I don't know anything about colors and that sort of thing. But I pay close attention to sounds, and I am located in Massachusetts, if I didn't say that. So let's try number three.
You bet.
So
Mhm.
So let me just say that I believe that is one of the purest sounds of any bird. Um, it does make a lot of different sounds, and I've heard individual cardinals make sounds that I've never heard other cardinals make. But some of the ones that come to my mind would be birdie, 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 or pretty, pretty, pretty. Um, and a few other ones. What cheer? That's another one I've heard. What cheer? What cheer? So let's hear the cardinal one more time.
Mhm.
Okay, so something I want to point out is that it's also important to hear what the tone is, or the sound, not just the sound that the bird's making, but a little deeper than that, the general tone of what it says. I remember the first time I heard a Baltimore Oriole, I thought it was a robin because I wasn't familiar with the Oriole sound. And I learned later on to really pay attention and to catch just there's a certain striking nature to the sound of a Baltimore Oriole the first time I hear it in the spring. I don't really have a mnemonic for it, I think there might be one over here, dear, or something like that. But I guess what I want to say is that it's not just the sound the bird makes, but it's how it sounds. And there are differences between robins and orioles and cardinals and so on. So let's
Mhm.
go to the next one.
You bet.
Hmm. And yes, all those sounds are coming from the same bird. And that is the red-winged blackbird. And the red-winged there's a very diagnostic sound. When you hear that, it's not only a whistle sound, but it's a very unique sound. And when we listen to it again in a minute, notice how it's just got a certain sound to it that's not just like another bird whistling. It's a descending whistle and it has a sound all its own. And the red-winged blackbird, I've heard people say conqueree or conkladi, and you can say whatever you want to. You can if you can come up with a better mnemonic that you can remember, and sometimes the more outlandish the mnemonics are, the easier they are to remember. I remember hearing and this doesn't have to do with the mnemonic, but I remember when I first got introduced to birding, I listened to Cornell University long play record albums, and I believe the man's name was Arthur Allen, who did the narration. And I remember he said, "The red-winged blackbird is a harbinger of spring." So I always think about that when I hear the red-winged blackbird. So let's hear him one more time.
Mhm.
So that sound at the end to me is kind of a plaintive sound, not beautiful,
Mhm.
sad maybe. The concludee sound is, I wouldn't call it beautiful, but I love hearing it. It has its own special kind of beauty. I just want to double check. What number is that bird on your list, Kat? Is that number 5?
That was number 5, and I always think of it similarly, Jerry, as plaintive but electronic. I don't
Yeah,
know, there's something about it, don't you think, that's also got, like, an electronic kind of sound?
there is. Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Do you have number 4 on there as American Robin?
I sure do.
Okay, let's try that one.
Oh, did I skip American Robin?
I think so. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's because I love red-winged blackbirds, probably. It was unconscious, but it was no doubt prejudicial. Okay, here we go for Robin.
Okay, that's the typical sound of an American robin, which says, cheer up, cheerily, cheer up. Is it a beautiful sound like a Baltimore Oriole or a Cardinal? Not to me, it isn't. But of course, I love hearing them. And they sound like they're cheerful and like they're trying to cheer me up, and they usually do. So that's the American robin. Now I don't have much more to say about that bird, except that it's one of the thrushes, and some of the most beautiful sounds of any bird would be the wood thrush and the hermit thrush, which I don't think I have those on my list today, but those are wonderful sounds, much more beautiful than the sound of a robin to my ears, anyway. Okay, so let's go to number six. And
Mhm.
I decided not to try and categorize these, but to
Mm.
just kind of put them in randomly. So you're going to hear very different birds. So let's see what this next guy has to say. So what do you think, Kat? Is that a family of birds talking to each other?
I will say it sounds like it to me as someone who's had a family of barred owls in their backyard.
So that's the barred owl, barred spelled B-A-R-R-E-D, not bard like Shakespeare, but the other kind of bard. And the barred owl, very obviously to me, this first one that we heard is from the South because he says, "Who cooks for you? Who cooks for you all?" No doubt about it. He's got to be from the South. But the ones in the North say that too. I don't want to confuse anybody, but the barred owl makes a lot of different sounds, sounds that we would consider comical and just downright silly. And they seem to be having a good time. And I suspect that they are. They're having some sort of social communication with their family members when they make those sounds. But I hope you'll remember that the main call of the barred owl is who cooks for you? Who cooks for you all? Now let's see if we can get that cemented into everybody's head by playing it again.
Mhm.
Now, if you could listen to that without getting a smile on your face, you have more self-discipline than I do. Because I just think it's hilarious. Let's go to another owl, which I think is larger than the barred owl, and maybe not as common. I'm not sure about that, but let's try number seven.
You bet. Wow.
I think that's a juvenile begging for food from his parents. Um, but the main sound of the great horned owl is, to me, it's very solemn. It's not funny like the barred owl at all. And I believe that we were hearing a male and a female. Usually the female has a lower pitched voice when it comes to owls, but it says, "Who's awake? Me too. Who's awake? Me too." And by the way, I want to just point something out about the previous one that we were listening to. If you were listening closely, you could hear in the background another very different sounding bird, which was a Chuck Will's widow, which is related to the whippoorwill. And it says, "Chuck Will's widow, Chuck Will's widow." And we'll be hearing that one. I think I have that one on my list, so we'll hear it without the other background sounds. But I did notice that we could hear that. And you'll probably hear other birds in a lot of the sounds that we play because no matter how good of a recordist you are, it's very difficult to isolate the sound of one bird if other birds are making sounds. All right, so that was the great horn down. Now let's go to something very different.
Mhm.
Number eight. I will admit I have trouble with this one
Mm.
because to me it sounds similar to a house finch, a purple finch, and a whole bunch of other birds, but that's the warbling vireo. And there is a mnemonic that's out there for that bird, which is it's kind of a strange one. I'm hesitant to even say it, but I will anyway. One mnemonic for it, and think of that bird looking at a caterpillar when it says this, but it's saying, if I see you, I will squeeze you. No, if I see you, I will seize you. I will squeeze you till you squirt. And that's that's a pretty well-known mnemonic for that bird. I prefer what one of my friends calls it, which she just calls it the scribbling bird because it kind of goes up and down and all over the place. So let's hear the scribbling bird once more.
Mhm.
Okay, that's the scribbling bird. I won't ask you to remember that silly mnemonic that I said. Okay, uh, let's now talk about number 9 and see
Mm.
what you think about that one. Okay, whippoorwill, that's enough for now. Those things, once they get going, they can go for hours. That is a whippoorwill, and it says its name. That's not exactly a mnemonic, I guess, but that's how I remember that one, is that it actually seems to say its name. And there are quite a few namesayers out there, that being one of the primary ones. I would guess that not all of us have heard a whippoorwill in the wild. I've only ever heard one maybe twice in my life so far, but that's a kind of a neat one. So let's hear the whippoorwill again.
Mhm.
Okay, let's go to the next one, which is I'll tell you, it's the Chuck Will's widow. That's the one that I could hear in the background when we were listening to the barred
Mhm.
owl.
You can tell those 2 are related, huh?
Yes, yeah. And the Chuck Will's widow also is an incessant singer once it gets going. Okay. So it's a namesayer. It says its name, Chuck Will's widow. Let's go to the next one, which is a pretty common bird.
Mhm.
So in case anybody thought that was a phoebe, it gave its name at the end, which is chickadee, chickadee dee dee. That happens to be a black-capped chickadee. And the first thing that it was doing was giving what I've heard as its spring call. And I've heard different mnemonics for that. I've heard somebody say cheeseburger, which I don't like. I don't like that sound. I've heard people say that it says Phoebe, and I don't like using that mnemonic either because there is an Eastern Phoebe that says Phoebe, and I don't like getting confused between it and the chickadee. There is a huge difference, though, between the spring sound of the chickadee and the sound of the phoebe. The eastern phoebe has a rough, burrier sound than the very smooth, clear sound of the chickadee. But I like to think of it as, "Hey, sweetie."
Mhm.
To me, that's what it seems to be saying directly to me when it says that. So let's hear that bird one more time. So it's pretty clear to me that it was saying, "Hey, sweetie." It's not saying any of those other things. So let's just leave it at that. The next bird is a namesayer, but it also has a lot of other sounds. So let's hear the blue jay. Well, we got enough mnemonics there to probably finish the rest of the meeting with. Um, it says its name, which is JJJ. It has a pump handle call. It has a Tweedledee call and a bunch of other ones that I can't think of words for. But the blue jay is a mimic. It can mimic other birds, and I've actually heard one do a very passable imitation of a red-tailed hawk.
Mhm.
And I've even heard that sometimes blue jays will do that to scare other birds away from the feeder, and then they'll go and eat their fill after they scare the other birds away, thinking that there's a hawk in the area. But they will imitate other birds. So let's hear the blue jay again. Okay, so that's the good old blue jay, and we have lots of those around the northeastern United States, and I think they're pretty widespread around the country.
Mm.
I've heard other jays. When I was in Colorado last spring, I heard Steller's jays, which make a very different sound. Um, so that's that one. The next one we're going to do is actually kind of one of my favorite birds. I like hearing them. They, well, we'll play it and then I'll talk about it.
Mhm.
So that last descending sort of a slur, a rough sounding slur, is a call that really, I would say, is diagnostic. When you hear that, it's pretty likely it's a Carolina wren. So do you think the Carolina wren says tea kettle cat? Do you think that's what it's saying?
You know, I could go with tea kettle. I could. It's interesting because it just has such a specific pitch that
Yes.
I don't even hear words, I don't think, or think of words. I just hear that pitch and think, "Oh, hello, friend."
Yes. I have a little trouble getting tea kettle out of it, but that's kind of the standard mnemonic
Mhm.
that people use for that. Sometimes I think it's saying sugar bee, sugar bee, sugar bee, and other times I don't know what it's saying, but it does tend to have like a at least a double tone, an upper sound, and then a slightly lower one. But that's the Carolina wren, which is very common in Massachusetts. From what I understand, they didn't exist here back in the 40s and till the 1950s at some point. And cardinals also weren't prolific in this area as they are now. So the Carolina wren, let's hear that one again. I love the sound of the
Mhm.
Carolina wren.
Same. Here we go.
All right, let's go to the next one, which is a flycatcher. And well, I'll tell you the mnemonic ahead of time for this one. most people seem to think that it's saying quick 3 beers. And there are other mnemonics that might be less that don't talk about alcohol, but quick 3 beers is one that's kind of rings true to me. So let's hear the olive-sided flycatcher. So that's all there is to that one. So we won't play that one again, but that's the olive-sided flycatcher. Now let's go to a different one, and I want you to remember that the sound of the robin was cheer up, cheerly, and while it might not be a beautiful sound, it was a smooth, not rough sound at all. But I want you to hear this next bird, and then I'll do a comparison of the two. So typically people say that the scarlet tanager sounds like a robin with a sore throat. And I agree with that. I think it does. I think it sounds very similar. The sounds that it make are similar to the robin, but they have a burry sound like it has a sore throat. And then toward the end, if you were listening really closely, you heard a very diagnostic sound for the scarlet tanager, and that is chick burr. So let's play that one again and listen for that chick burr. It does it a couple of times. Okay. I wasn't sure if I had this one on my list, but I'm glad I did. The next one I had talked a little
But
bit about.
Jerry,
Yeah,
this is Martha. I think
yeah.
it might be helpful to play the robin right now, just to
Oh.
Oh, good
remind
idea.
people
Yes,
if it's
I
Mm-hmm.
like that
possible for a
idea.
cat to play that.
Absolutely. Here we go. Here is the robin, which is the one without a sore throat. And then maybe go again
Yeah, sure.
on the scarlet tanager because it really is. I hadn't even realized how close.
Hmm.
I can tell you that the robin never says chick burr. That's a real scarlet tanager sound. Now, kind of along the same line, or at least related, let's hear the next one, which is the
Mm-hmm.
Baltimore Oriole, number 16. So the Baltimore Oriole makes some sounds that I could imagine were a Carolina wren. It makes other sounds like other birds, but there's a certain tone to that bird that it doesn't, the recording doesn't do justice to it. You have to hear it out in the field to really get what I'm saying here. But I know that when I hear the first one of the spring, it just buoys me up for a week, I think, because it reminds me of just what a beautiful sound it is. And then if I go out and stay out too long the next few days, I hear so many of them that I think, okay, Baltimore Orioles, we've had enough of you. I want to hear something else. But they are a very beautiful sound. So let's hear the Baltimore Oriole one more time. So again, for me, rather than have a mnemonic in mind, I try to remember just what the overall sound of the Oriole is because they do make a wide variety of sounds.
Mm.
Let's next go to a very different sounding one, which is one of the warblers, number 17, the chestnut-sided warbler. So now you may come up with your own mnemonic for that, but to me and a lot of other people, it's saying, please, please, please to meet you. Actually,
Oh,
pleased to meet ya. Let's hear it say pleased to meet ya one more time. Very nice.
mhm.
All right, let's go to the next one. Then we only have a few more, and then I'm going to open it up for a little bit of conversation. But number 18 is one that there's a very common mnemonic associated with it. So let's listen to it, and I'll tell you what the mnemonic is.
I think this is the one I heard the most of this summer. So I'm curious what the mnemonic is. All right.
Well, again, you kind of have to use your imagination because this bird isn't saying its mnemonic as clearly as some of them do, but the mnemonic for the common yellow throat is witchetty, witchetty, witchetty.
Mhm.
And there are wide variations from bird to bird in what they say. But let's play it again and see if you can get witchetty, witchetty, witchetty out of it.
Mhm.
They make that sound a lot up in Salem, Massachusetts around Halloween. Okay.
Mnemonics
Um,
and jokes. That's why I love you, Jerry.
so the next one is one that I mentioned earlier, the fish crow, which I said what my wife says that it was saying. So let's listen to that one and see if you think it's saying uh-uh.
Okay, now it's got to be the bird to everybody.
Yes. It's pretty clear to me. I can't imagine anything else that I could say that it says. So that's the fish crow, which, from what I understand, looks pretty much exactly the same as an American crow, but makes a very different sound. And I guess they eat fish. I think they tend to be closer to bodies of water.
Mm.
Um, I have one more bird, and I want to say that when I sit and listen to this bird, and I'm not much of a meditator, but if I happen to be sitting somewhere and the gray catbird is way up high in a tree near me and it's singing its heart out, I just feel joy. I mean, I just think that it sounds like it's as happy as it can be. And I don't know that I could make that stretch and say that's really why the bird's singing. The bird's singing to communicate its territory. And by the way, I meant to mention this earlier too. Some bird species, mostly the male sings, but in others, both the male and female, for example, cardinals, both genders sing. And I think the female tends to sing a little more softly, but in some birds, it's mainly the male that makes the diagnostic sounds. But the bird that we're hearing now is the gray catbird, and I just think is the prettiest, nicest thing I've ever heard. Now you know why they call it a catbird. It really does sound like a cat meowing up there in the tree. But I just like the way it chirps and it makes all kinds of different sounds. It just seems to just, there's no end to the repertoire that it has. So that's my little discussion about mnemonics, and I'd like to open it up to a raise of hands if you have a comment, especially if you have a mnemonic you would like to tell us about for any bird that you've heard, and anything else you might want to say. We've got a little bit of time, so just raise your hand if you want to speak, and I think Kat will call on you, and we'll give you some time.
And I have to say, I'm so delighted to learn about chick burr because I didn't know that one, and that
Ah,
will be absolutely helpful to me in my remembering now what how to listen for a scarlet tanager.
yeah, good.
Other
No,
folks, any favorites that you have in terms of mnemonics? Oh, somebody just put in the chat, Jerry, it says Eurasian collared doves say lasagna and Verdin say I don't know.
who says I don't know?
Verdins. Am I pronouncing that correctly? It's Verdin. I know those are Western birds. We
Oh,
don't get
yeah.
them.
I'm not
Uh,
familiar with that.
yeah, Verdins were
Yeah,
a new
that's
one
that's
for
correct,
me.
Kat.
Yeah, they were a new
Martha,
one
how
for
about that
me.
lasagna? Is that a good mnemonic? Martha?
I don't know about the collared dove. I'm not sure. That's not, that's not Eastern. That's
Yeah.
Right, right.
Midwestern
Emily is
West.
out in Arizona, and so
Yeah,
he is
yeah.
giving us the Western mnemonics that we couldn't bring to the
I'm pressing.
table as Easterners.
Yeah.
You want to hear the lasagna?
Yeah, we
Sure.
would
Okay,
love to hear lasagna.
they're like lasagna, lasagna, lasagna.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's great.
I love it. So we've got cheeseburger and lasagna. Other
Okay.
folks, any mnemonics?
This is Martha. It's sort of funny sometimes. The yellow throat, Jerry. I never call it the yellow throat. Whenever I'm out birding and I hear it, and I say, "Oh, there's a witchetty."
Yeah.
I never call it the species. I just, oh, a witchetty up ahead. Let's.
Yep. There's
Witchetties
an
and butterbutts.
Yes, exactly.
yeah. There's another one that I didn't put on my list and I wish I had. It's the oven bird that seems to say, teacher,
Mm.
teacher, teacher. And that one's a very easy one to recognize. And I don't know if that's only in the eastern United States or if it's everywhere. The oven bird. Ah, I think I heard a hand go up.
Yes, John, please.
Hi there. I was just going to say that I like American goldfinches, and somebody told me that they always say potato chips as they fly over.
Yes.
Yes, yeah, I've heard that too. And I've also heard it called perchicory. And I like hearing those. Actually, the goldfinch's song is a little bit difficult for me to recognize sometimes. It has an awful lot of similarity to other birds, but that potato chip or perchicory really gives me a very clear answer of who that bird is.
Yep. Yeah.
Mm.
That's another bird that I often say, oh, a potato chip just went over.
In the chat, Gary also just shared yellow warbler, the mnemonic for yellow warbler. Sweet, sweet, sweet. I'm so sweet.
Yeah,
Yes.
Though he said he thinks it has another syllable, really.
I've heard it called sweet, sweet, little more sweet.
Mm.
Um, and of course, everybody has their own ideas of what
Mhm.
the birds are saying, and there's no right or wrong to it. It's just whatever works for you is good. But yeah, that's a good one.
Ooh, and in the chat, it also says lesser nighthawks sound like laughing grannies flying around catching bugs together. I love that.
Wow.
That's so fun. That must be quite a different sound than the common nighthawks that we get.
Yeah, to me, the common nighthawk sounds very much like a American woodcock.
Mm-hmm.
They make like a peent sound.
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, I'm glad that a few people have gotten into the conversation. I was beginning to wonder if I might have put everybody to sleep, but I guess
No,
not.
no. Oh, here's another hand. Yeah, Melissa, please. Oh, you'll have to unmute. Oh, there you go.
I'm so glad you shared the gray catbird because I just love that bird. It seems like it's telling us a story.
Yep. I can sit and listen to one of those for a half an hour. I just really enjoy them. Um, wow.
Audio now unmuted.
Oh, I also hear Donna. Did you
Yeah.
unmute?
Yeah, Jerry, what do you do with the northern mockingbird since it
Oh,
makes sounds of all these other birds? How do you really know when it's a northern mockingbird?
Well, again, I'm glad you asked that question because this is another one where you have to really know the overall, I guess, timbre of the sounds that it makes. Number one, it tends to say things 3 or 4 times
Yeah.
and then go to something else. And that's not a hard and fast rule, but that's what it tends to do. And there's a certain raucousness to the mockingbird sounds that if you listen to them long enough, you kind of get the idea, wait a minute, that's not a robin or that's not a cardinal, that's a mockingbird. But that's all I know. And I don't know, there is no mnemonic to say what the sound is that the mockingbird makes because it makes different sounds every few seconds.
Other birds, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Martha. It's as you said, Jerry and Donna and everybody, the mockingbird tends to repeat one of the birds that it is mimicking. It's considered a mimic. And it repeats it 3 times. There's another bird called a brown thrasher that's also a mimic. And you have the same question, like, how do you know? But in the case of the brown thrasher, they tend to repeat only twice. And it's, there are lots of aspects to bird songs. And you've mentioned so many, Jerry, tonight. It's the pattern, it's the tone, the quality. And it's really fascinating, all of the different aspects to it.
I think Henry David Thoreau said that the brown thrasher was saying, drop it, pick it up,
Yeah,
pull it up.
that's not bad. Yeah.
we also have another hand up. Mary, if you want to go ahead.
Hello. I enjoyed this. I didn't really hear most of the mnemonics, but I'm glad they work for somebody. And it's good to hear 'em. I didn't know the differences between the scarlet tanager. I knew what the robin sounded like, and I honestly thought when I heard the scarlet tanager that the robin was sick.
Oh, you
So
thought it had a
now I
sore
understand
throat.
it's a different bird. So I wanted to say thank you for that. And also, what you mentioned, Jerry, the Arthur A. Allen records, and I can't figure out how to put the link in Zoom on my phone. But I found the Internet Archive of one of his records,
Oh,
so that
wow.
if people wanted to hear it, they could. And I sent it to Kat.
Oh, thank
So,
you.
so if she wouldn't mind, if you wouldn't mind sending it maybe out to the people that are on this call who might be interested, it might be fun. I
Eh.
saw it and I'll listen to it later. But I was like, now I know what this sounds like. So I could totally picture him saying, "The harbinger of spring." So
Yes, and he had a very solemn, very professional sound.
yes.
I liked listening to his voice.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'm
Well,
definitely going to send that out, but I'm also going to put it in the chat for anybody that would like to grab it right away, so you don't even have to wait a moment for that archive.
excellent. And Kat, we only have about 5 minutes left, so I wonder, is there anything you want to say? Are we at liberty to talk about what our next meeting is going to have in it?
Absolutely. December 9th is our next community conversation as we move towards our May 3rd and 4th, 2026 Blind Birder Bird-a-Thon. And I'm really excited that on December 9th at this exact same time, we will have Allie Smith joining us from Cornell Lab of Ornithology to talk about using Merlin and to answer questions, to maybe give us some updates even on some of the issues, Jerry, that you and so many others who are using Merlin with voiceover or with screen
Mhm.
readers brought up. And then also to be able to hear a little bit from Allie about special features that may be of interest to birders who are blind or low vision, who are using Merlin as an identification tool in terms of just raising up how to, for example, get rid of the automatic video that now sometimes pops up, right? Or how to reorder so that you hear you hear what we are seeing, those of us with sight, and that you hear, for example, the most recent bird at the top of the list.
Mhm.
Things like that. So if you're interested, please feel free to send questions in advance. You can send those to me, and my email, which I will put in the chat, is cat@birdability.org. I'll be happy to share any questions with Allie in advance of our time together on December 9th. And I'm really excited. They have been such great partners in terms of really wanting to make tools accessible as possible. So, Jerry, I know you and Donna and Martha have had the opportunity to be in conversation with Allie, and now Allie will have the opportunity to be in conversation with everyone, which we're really excited about.
That is wonderful. And I just want to mention a couple of websites while we have another minute. Birdability.org, that's the website for Birdability. And there's a lot of good information on there and also the opportunity to donate. Another one is I'll blow my own horn a little bit and say that my
Mhm.
friend Gary Harritz, who I think is on here tonight, he and I
Yes.
are doing a podcast. We've done, let's see, I think I did our 9th episode yesterday. We do a podcast called Any Bird, Anybody. It's 4 words, all separate words, any bird, any body. And it is about birding and people with various challenges, various disabilities, but not only people with disabilities. We will interview anyone who wants to talk about birding and how to make birding more accessible to everyone. And so I hope you'll try to listen into that when you have an opportunity. Our goal recently has been to try and put one out every 2 weeks. And so far we've kind of done that, but things may slow down a bit during the
Mhm.
winter. I don't know, but that's any bird, anybody. I think that's all I have.
And I just put that link in the chat as well. If anyone is interested in getting to really keep thinking about accessibility and birding, this podcast by Jerry Berrier and Gary Harritz, two of our birdability captains and community members, is just, it's such a delight. And I got to be their first guest, which was a lot of fun, you all. I highly recommend checking it out. I will also send out after this, when I send out the recording, I will also include a whole list of resources that we had developed during the info calls for Blind Birder Bird-a-Thon 2025, in case folks are interested, because it has Lang Elliott's website, for example, and it has some of the other resources, Jerry, that you and Donna and Martha and many others have shared with us about
Mhm.
learning birding by ear. So I'll make sure to send those in the email that comes out with the recording. Any last words, Jerry, or Martha or Donna?
I just want to say thank you very much, Kat. You're a great co-host and a great teammate.
Oh, thank you. It's such a fun thing to get to do this together. And I look forward to seeing folks again on December 9th when we have Allie Smith joining us from Cornell Lab of Ornithology. And then, just so we don't forget, we have a whole series of really fun things. And this will be the last thing that I'll mention as we end for today, that you can find out more on our website on the Blind Birder Bird-a-Thon page. But we, after that December 9th, starting up in the new year, in January, we'll have Jerry, you back here talking about using equipment and apps to
Uh-huh.
record bird sounds. Uh, and then February is bird behaviors with John Kreitzer. And I'm really so delighted about this opportunity. And then migration with Scott Weidensaul, who wrote, oh my goodness, On the Wing, I believe. Is that what it's called? I'm blanking on the name of the
Living on the Wing.
Living on the
Mm.
Wing. Thank you. I was like, I've read it, but can I remember the name right this moment? No. But Scott will be joining us to talk about migration as we enter migration season. And then the last one will be April 14th, when we will have an information session in preparation for that May 3rd and 4th Blind Birder Bird-a-Thon. And that will answer questions that you all might have and just get us all connected and excited to go bird.
Well, thank you again, Kat, and thanks to everybody who participated, and I wish you all a good evening.
Have a wonderful rest of your
And
night, everyone.
have a very nice Thanksgiving too.
Thank you. You too,
Yes.
Martha.
Bye, you all.
Bye.